What's going on, everybody? Hope you're having a great night. This is Catfish on Ice, episode 177, presented by DraftKings and part of the Hockey Podcast Network with your hosts, Chad Minton and Rich Howe. We're back after a week off. We had to take a week off.
Little vacation.
Yeah,
for sure.
Reset everything. We still been watching the Preds, though. We've been watching this really commendable playoff push that not the Predators, Rich. They're not called the Nashville Predators anymore. Nope. They are called the Predmirals. Can you say that really fast? Say that fast 5 times in a row right now. I dare you.
Predmirals. It sounds weird after you say it.
Yeah, you didn't say it 5 times.
I only did it 3 and it sounded weird, so I stopped.
It does sound weird. Max Greenberg's in here. Let's see. He says, hello hockey people.
We are hockey people for sure.
We're ready to do that hockey talk tonight. We're happy to see everybody that jumps in on our YouTube channel. Thank you for bearing with us as we took a week off. We had to reset everything. Mainly me, honestly. We were ready to do an episode last week, and I will be dead honest. I said, you know what? Let's take a week off here.
Need a break.
Need to reset everything. I never want to put out a bad episode.
Right.
And I think all of us just wanted to take a deep breath.
Yep.
It's been a really busy season. Myself, Rich, and our other co-host, Kyle Perkins, we all work full-time jobs. This is not our full-time job, but we love doing this podcast. We wish it was our full-time jobs. Trust me.
For sure. That would be
amazing.
We
love doing it, and we're happy to be back here for episode 177 of Catfish and Ice. We have a lot to get into here tonight. As I just mentioned, and as you all know, the Predators are basically fielding a full prospect roster with the exception of a few veterans, and it's not just because they sold off heavy at the trade deadline, but also because, guess what? That old trade bug has bitten the Nashville Predators.
It's not pretty, folks. It's not pretty. You basically have UC Saros, Kevin Lankinen, Matt Duchene, and Colton Sissons. Well, Yakov Trenin, but none of the big guns are in. That's for sure.
I won't even throw Yakov Trenin in there because he's still such a young player.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah.
So I like that you just listen to those players off, Rich, because it makes it very, very clear through trades and injuries. So they're both a common factor here. This team is basically fielding an AHL roster, which that is to no extent is that saying anything negative about those young players that are playing right now.
No.
Want to get that out there right off the rip. Those guys are battling hard. But let's kind of all right, so we've been off for a week. So we've missed a lot of games, Rich. We're not going to break down every single game. That's not going to happen. But I will say, just quick recap of some of the games we've missed since the last episode. Yep. What was the last episode we did? Was when they played, Vancouver? Was that the last episode we did? No, we've done an episode since then.
Have we? I don't remember. Let's see.
The Preds have been playing fast and furious. They had a lot of time off. They have a lot of games to make up in the standings.
It would have been.
What was the last episode? Either way, while you figure that out, let's talk about some of the most recent games. Let me circle back to the game against the Chicago Blackhawks because that was one that really was hard to watch for me.
Yeah. Well,
that was one that you felt like the Predators should win. Roman Josi wasn't out yet. And you basically have a game of 2 AHL squads going toe-to-toe, right?
Yeah.
And this is what happens when you sell. So I'm not saying this to be like negative or anything, but for all those fans who wanted to have a heavy sell-off at the trade deadline,
there you go.
I really, really hope, and I mean this sincerely, I really, really hope that you're ready to be patient with this team for some of these really ugly games that are going to happen against lopsided opponents, i.e. the New York Rangers. I get it. It was a back-to-back. We're going to get into it a little bit more. The New York Rangers are probably going to have a good chance to win a Stanley Cup. They're that good of a team.
They're very good.
And the deck was stacked against you. It was on a back end of a back-to-back. Your captain, Roman Josi, is out. I get all that. But it's going to happen. You're going to have some of these types of games where, to no fault of the players on this roster, but it's going to be more talent on the other side. There's going to be more veteran experience on the other side. I hope those fans that wanted that sell-off are ready to be patient for a couple years to let this team grow.
Yeah, for sure. Talking about that Chicago game, the bad part about that is the Predators needed those 2 points. They needed to
that was a tough one.
To even entertain staying in the playoffs. And, you need to be up for a game like that. They definitely could have won that game, but it just didn't pan out. And I know, any of the teams can beat any of the other ones, but I've said that numerous times, but you gotta get up when you need those 2 points for sure.
Well, all the metrics in that Blackhawks game, I know we're going back a little bit, but we're making up for lost time here. All the metrics in that game said the Predators probably should have won that game. They got shots on goal, which has eluded them a lot lately. They've had trouble even getting shots on goal lately. They put up 36 shots on goal in that game. You're going up against a Blackhawks team that has sold off way more than the Predators have.
Oh, yeah.
The Blackhawks know who they are. They know that they're rebuilding. They know where they're at. The Predators are in that weird gray area that we all are familiar with. So that was a game that you felt like the Preds could bag 2 points, keep the positive juices flowing and make up a little bit of ground. So when you drop that game against Chicago, that's when you go into that huge, massive matchup, daytime matchup, matinee matchup against Winnipeg. I was nervous to watch this game against Winnipeg, Rich. I don't know about you, but I didn't know how this team would respond. I haven't been able to figure out Winnipeg all year. They're kind of a conundrum for me. I can't figure out who this team is. Are they legit? Are they not? So I didn't know how the Predators would respond. What did you think about that game?
It was good. They played hard. Going up against Connor Hellebuck, anytime you have to face him, his whole body takes up basically the whole net. And you're going to have to, it's always going to be a struggle to get points against that dude because he's just that good to get goals. And, they played well. They did what they had to do. They did get a point out of it, but at the cost of losing Roman Josi, and that dude apparently is the whole glue that holds this team together
and we've said that
because it's evident in the next game that we're going to talk about in a little bit. So,
yeah. So going to that Jets game here. Yeah. I was nervous for this game. I knew how important it was. I didn't know how this young Predators team that's playing so many inexperienced, although talented, but inexperienced players. We know about the Jets. The Jets have so much talent. They're all in. They're ready to win right now. You're talking about two teams in completely different situations right now. Yep. One team was all about buying at the deadline and getting better and pursuing that Stanley Cup. You got the Predators who decided finally, let's sell. Let's do it. Let's take that. Let's take our medicine here. Everyone's been telling us to take our medicine for the last 3 or 4 years. And we're finally going to do it. But no one could have predicted the injuries that led up to the deadline and also have followed since the deadline. And I never like to use the injury excuse as a fan. As a fan, that's the lamest excuse in the book. I never like to do it. But right now, I'm so tempted to want to use it. Because you can't deny it.
Yeah, you look at the circumstances and the top line is gone, basically.
I don't like to use it, though, Rich. I do not like to use the injury excuse. It's so weak for me. But I don't know how I can push against it right now. I really don't, because it's insane if you combine the 4 players that the Predators chose to obviously trade away. They chose that path.
Yep.
And we were all okay with it. We all understood it. We were all applauding it. And then we were like, I was saying, let's let the chips fall where they may after that. If they continue to make the playoffs and push for it, that's bonus at this point. That's icing on the cake. We'll take it. But we all liked what we got out of the trade deadline here. We were all happy with the returns on Tanner Jeannot, on Matthias Ekholm, on Nino Niederreiter, even Mikael Granlund. We were so happy with what we got in return. But then you add on top of that Philip Forsberg, his injury continues to linger. He's been out since early February, mid-February. I've already been on board, and I don't know how you feel about this, Rich, or if we talked about it in the last episode or not. At this point, I don't think they should even bring Philip Forsberg back.
No. Yeah, I agree with that. I mean, I'm sure he wants to play and wants to get back out there, but you just don't want to take that chance.
Not with the injury he's dealing with. I just don't see a point in it. Even if you bring him back in the lineup for the sake of, he can make our team better and maybe he can be the difference maker to make that final push to get in the playoffs. First of all, I don't think Philip Forsberg is the only reason that this team's going to make the playoffs or not, whether he comes back or not. Second of all, when you're dealing with head injuries and you're dealing with a player of any magnitude, I don't care if he's a fringe starter, I don't care who that is. When you're dealing with a head injury, you don't mess with that kind of thing.
Yeah, for sure. And that might even be what's wrong with Roman Josi. Nobody knows about that either. So
it's very quiet right now. I would think that we're going to learn more about it on Tuesday.
Yeah, you look at Nashville is definitely a more defensive team with spurts of scoring goals, and you get rid of the top 3 of the top 4 defensemen are hurt right now. I mean, that's bad. That's just nothing they could do. I mean, there's just
they look so gassed. And you can't. Can you blame them? Can you blame them?
Yeah, for sure. And some of these AHL guys aren't used to playing a schedule like that either. So it's a new experience for them. They said on the broadcast, like the majority of those guys, none of them have ever played in Madison Square Garden. So that's a huge thing too. So
for sure. Yeah. And again, it's on a back-to-back. So let's get to the most recent game here. Let's address the disaster that it was. So let me lay this out for you. So with my new job and the hours I work, a lot of times, and it's the reason why I haven't been as active on Twitter lately. Well, it's not the only reason. Twitter is toxic, but we still love a lot of you that's the only reason I get on Twitter is because there are a lot of amazing people to interact with, and I don't want to lose those interactions. But the real reason why I haven't been active on Twitter is because I do have a job where I work a lot during the games when they're live. So I have to watch these games after the fact. So I'm watching them on demand, after the fact, not live. I don't check my phone because I want to be able to watch the game later, all these kinds of things. So that's why I've been a little quiet on Twitter lately. But I got to tell you, when I got home last night to watch this Rangers game, I was a little nervous. I didn't expect them to win the game, Rich. I really didn't. Like, I kind of felt like, there's no way they're going to win this game. But I was kind of a little bit, looking back on it now, I was definitely a little bit clouded in my judgment. But I thought, you know what? I think they're going to put together another good effort, just like they did against Winnipeg. They're probably going to lose. We're probably in for another heartbreaker, but they're going to put together a really, really good effort. And I'm not saying they –
you had no idea what was coming.
So let me lay this out there. And I'm sure there's plenty of Preds fans out there. If you're watching live right now on YouTube, or if you're watching later, comment on the stream. Yeah, so I get in the Rangers score with like the first 3 minutes, and I'm thinking, okay, we gave them a goal here.
Yeah,
let's buckle in here. It's fine. And I mean, it just snowballed after that. I could not believe it. I could not believe what I was seeing.
it escalated very quick. I was like, the Rangers are going to put up 10 on these guys. But
they could have. No, they could have.
Easily.
I put it out there. The New York Rangers are the most classy organization in the NHL after what I just saw, because they could have easily put up double-digit goals in that game.
Yep.
It was 7-0 in the second period.
Mm-hmm.
And did they call off the Dogs? Did they call off the Dogs?
They did. They did, because the Predators, the guys that were playing, they were trying. They were trying really hard, and you could just tell that the Rangers were laying back, which that's good. There's no way those guys were gonna even sniff getting into this game. So
let's give a shout out to a few people. Mike Twitter's on here, and let's give a shout out to Mike Twitter's friend. He says, I got my friend Billy listening with me tonight live from Surprise, Arizona. Is that a city is that a town in Arizona? Or is he saying from Surprise, Arizona? Is it how did he mean that? Do we need to break down this comment? Mike Twitter, we need you to further elaborate here. Is there a town called Surprise, Arizona? Or are you saying live from Surprise. Like Arizona? Surprise. We need you to elaborate on that, all right? Yeah, we need you to. Nikki's in here. She says, hey, y'all. Lindsay's in here. Hello, friends. There we go. We got some good people in here tonight. We appreciate y'all.
Absolutely.
Mike Twitter says Surprise.
He says the city is named Surprise.
The city is named Surprise? I never knew there was a city named Surprise, Arizona. That's so cool.
It's the home of the Rangers and Royals spring training. So he's watching some spring training baseball. All right.
That's cool. And I know Mike Twitter is a big baseball fan too. So I'm down here in spring training country down here in Florida. I mean, there's spring training going on all over the place around me down here in the Tampa area. I guess they call it the Grapefruit League. So yeah, we got baseball. It's about to be starting here, the opening day and all that good stuff. We got March Madness going on. We got, if you're a sports fan right now, you got plenty to watch. I mean, you got NBA and NHL playoffs. You got March Madness. You got the NFL never stops. It's the sleeping giant that never really sleeps. There's always something. Yeah, you got golf. You got everything. If you're a sports fan, this is the best time of year to be a sports fan. There's so much to watch that you can't keep up with it all. But going back to this Rangers game, I just think, when you really back out and look at it and take into account everything that is going on, 7-0 sucks. It was a massive just bulldozer that went over the entire Preds. But when you really look at it, it's still one loss. It's a loss that you probably thought was going to happen regardless of the final score and how lopsided it was, how embarrassing it was. I get all that. But, I mean, what do you really expect? Do you expect them to maybe make it a little closer? Okay, I'll give you that.
Yeah.
Does it suck to be on the wrong end of a crazy game like that? Yeah, that sucks. But in the grand scheme of things, it's to be expected. You should expect something like that. Maybe not that lopsided, but still, it's still a loss. They all count the same.
It is, but if you will look at the Rangers game before they played the Nashville Predators, they shut out Pittsburgh, and Pittsburgh had all of their star players playing. 6-0 shutout. So they're legit.
I did see that. And we've known that for a while. That they're legit. Obviously, when you lose 7-0 and it could have been like 8-9, 10-0, obviously.
Yep.
Yeah. It doesn't matter who you're up against. That's embarrassing. But
yeah, for sure.
It is what it is. I think that honestly, this team has put everything. They have emptied out the gas tanks lately. This Predators team, they have emptied it out. They really have. And they had a lot of time off for a while, and so now they have all these games in hand. And now, up until the second to last week of the regular season, they're not going to have more than one day off between games.
Yeah, and this weekend they're playing Seattle twice in a row.
With Pecorine's statue unveiling.
Yep. Both
So,
games
I
at
mean,
home.
I misspoke a little bit earlier in this episode regarding the whole effort thing. I don't doubt the team's effort. This team plays hard, and they've been giving us some really exciting hockey. I saw it when I went down to Sunrise, Florida to see the Preds beat the Panthers there. That was a great game to watch with great effort and playing hard. And a lot of the young players were playing in that game as well, including Luke Evangelista was starting to get his feet wet in the NHL at that point.
Yep.
You know, when you really broaden out the scope here, let's talk about these Predmirals, as we can say it here, Rich. Who's a guy who's really standing out the most to you right now in terms of some of these most recent players who are really the core of the Milwaukee Admirals, which by the way, shout out to the Milwaukee Admirals. They're in first place right now in the Central Division of their AHL hockey pursuit right now. And let's give some love. Let's give some love to the Admirals right now, because think about their roster turnover right now.
Oh yeah, for sure. I mean, the Predators are taking guys every day from them, and they're still in first place. That's good.
That's really amazing. And hey, let's give more kudos to Carl Taylor. I know there's no shortage of love lost for Carl Taylor, the coach of the Milwaukee Admirals. But how about that guy? He figures out ways to keep that team competitive despite the hard job of constantly having to change his lineup.
Yep. He'd probably make a good NHL coach.
Maybe. I think so. We'll revisit that later.
I think he will.
So who's really standing out to you like the most out of all these new prospects that have kind of gotten caught up over the course of the season?
Can you count Tommy Novak still?
Yeah, you can. I'll allow that. No, I'll totally allow that. That counts.
I guess in this little stretch of games lately, though, Kiefer Sherwood's played well.
Oh, I love that. You stole mine. Right? You stole mine. That's a good one.
Tommy Novak's playing well. Evangelista is like a little spark plug out there running all over the place. Yeah, I mean, these guys are getting some valuable NHL minutes, and that's awesome.
Tommy Novak, out of that question is the obvious answer. I mean, this dude looks like a bona fide, everyday top six center. That's how good Tommy Novak looks right now. And he doesn't just look it; he's doing it. He's passing the eye test, which is what we always say: eye test and analytical test. I think that's what is always going head to head with each other. Like, oh, here's the eye test, here's the analytics, here's this, here's that. Tommy Novak is passing with flying colors, both of those. Yeah, this dude, I can't get over how smooth of a skater Tommy Novak is and how he sees the entire ice. He sees the play developing. If we can take any consolation prize, if there's one consolation prize you're taking out of this season, even if the Predators miss the playoffs, which it looks like they probably will, there's still miracles.
Tough.
Miracles exist. I'm not completely writing them off, but let's say most likely they do end up missing the playoffs. Your number one consolation prize, folks, that you can take out of this season is Tommy Novak has emerged as a bona fide top six center for this organization. And let's go ahead and throw Cody Glass in there as well.
I was getting ready to mention him, yep.
Even more so, I would say Tommy Novak is actually, I know it's not necessarily a competition, but I would put Tommy Novak ahead of Cody Glass in terms of ceiling at this point. What they're showing.
Yeah, I agree with that. I mean, especially lately, Tommy Novak's played really well. Cody Glass has played well as well, but like you said, I think Novak does have it's not a competition, but he is showing a little better at the moment. But they're both playing excellent for the situation and circumstances they're in, for sure.
For sure. Yeah. I mean, it's really the smooth skating for me when it comes to Tommy Novak. He sees the ice. He makes the correct plays a lot of times. He's made a couple of mistakes here and there, but who doesn't? Even the veterans make those mistakes. So I'm not focused on those things at all. I'm focused on how he's seeing the ice and how he's diagnosing plays, how he's finding ways to score. We saw that in the Winnipeg game. So when Winnipeg came back and tied it at 1, I don't know if you remember the play, Rich, but the Preds quickly responded.
Yep.
And went back ahead 2-1, and it very realistically salvaged a point in that game because they did end up losing in overtime. But that's Tommy Novak in that game there, making that play on that second goal, which ended up being scored by Luke Evangelista, his third goal of his career. So kudos to Luke Evangelista, who was driving the net. And we're about to talk about Evangelista a little bit more, but let's stay on Tommy Novak for now here. He diagnosed the play. Exactly what I'm talking about is on this play here to Evangelista. He's diagnosing the play. He's seeing everything around him happening. He's being aggressive. He's making the right decisions. It doesn't always work out. We've seen a lot of times lately where, to no fault of their own, but these guys are having a hard time getting on the same page. And guess what? That's why that's happening. Because there's so much roster turnover, Rich.
Yeah, they haven't played together for a while. In Milwaukee, they probably played together, but
they have. But it's way different animal when you get on the NHL level. You're asking these guys to basically translate whatever they've done together on the AHL level in spot times. And now you're asking them to go to the NHL and play against teams like the Rangers and the Winnipeg Jets, who are playoff teams. Yeah. Obviously. That's why the Chicago game was such a letdown, because we thought, okay, this is our opportunity with the way we're playing lately. This is our opportunity to snag another 2 points, because that was really, Rich, that was the last really super winnable game left on this schedule. We've been talking about this in the last episode. I mentioned to everybody vast majority of the remaining games on the Preds schedule is against current playoff teams.
Yep. Even the game Tuesday night against Buffalo is going to be tough because Buffalo just got blanked by the Bruins. So they're going to be good and ticked off, I'm sure.
So when I was looking over the scores last night, I was like, all right, let me see what happened in the rest of the league. Let me see if I can feel better about myself. See if someone that is of consequence lost to make me feel better about myself and about my Predators. And I saw, the next opponent also lost 7-0 tonight. So that should make for an interesting storyline.
Yeah, I think it's going to be.
I don't know any statisticians out there, but if someone wants to deep dive into just, I would venture to say that this is the first time in NHL history that two teams coming off 7-0 losses are playing each other.
Yeah.
Do you think that's ever happened in NHL history, Rich?
I mean, I've never seen it before, but who knows?
Yeah, Buffalo's off tonight as well. We're recording this on a Monday, March 20th. Buffalo's off tonight as well. Both Buffalo and the Predators lost 7-0, and they play each other next.
That's crazy.
I would be willing to bet that that's never happened before. Two teams coming off 7-0 losses play each other in their next games. I need someone on that.
Yeah, for sure.
I don't even know where to begin to look up that. But
if you look at the remaining games in March, the only one, I mean, it's Buffalo, Seattle twice, the Maple Leafs, the Bruins, and then the Penguins. I mean, that's rough.
All you can really hope for is that some of these teams let their foot off the gas a little bit because they don't have a lot to play for.
Yeah. I don't know.
Because if you look at the Eastern Conference right now, it's kind of shaping up a lot more than the West, a little bit. Yeah. Like Toronto and Tampa are most likely going to play each other in the first round. Yeah. They're just kind of figuring out who's going to have home ice advantage. Tampa could pass Toronto to get home ice advantage in that first round. But Boston has nothing to play for unless they're trying to set the NHL record for most points in the season.
Yeah, they've been mixing the lines up just doing different things, trying some different stuff, but they're still, it's Boston.
Yeah,
so.
I mean, in the NHL, teams don't take games off. Like it's a different animal. They play to win. It's going to be a tough road to haul for the Preds. I mean, it just is.
If you look at the rest of the games, if they don't get back some of the hurt players, they could legitimately lose every one of these games. I mean, I hate that. I don't want to be negative or say that, but
no, it's a very realistic.
You could maybe
very realistic thing to say.
You can maybe beat St. Louis. Even in April, you got Dallas, Vegas, Carolina, Winnipeg, Calgary, Minnesota, and Colorado.
And that's
brutal.
I call it April the gauntlet way back in like January. I remember seeing April and thinking, okay, but yeah, no one could have foreseen all these injuries that have happened. And again, I'm not trying to use that as an excuse. The Preds chose their path, and I'm glad they did. I really am. I'm glad that the front office finally took a clear approach, and they got assets, they got draft picks, they got draft capital. They've got a lot of leverage going into these drafts. And how perfect is that? They're going into the draft that the Nashville Predators are hosting, or the city of Nashville is hosting. Yep. And they've got, the draft that Connor Bedard, the best prospect since Connor McDavid, is going to get drafted. Obviously not to the Predators. No. Those lottery odds that ship has sailed.
They're very high.
It is a very, very good draft class, even for a team that's picking in the mid-first round. And I'm telling y'all, and I've seen other people mention this, I'm not the only one that's mentioned this, with all that draft capital, do not discount the fact that the Predators can trade up in the first round.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
And they might. They might trade up in the first round
to do that, for sure.
They do. So I think the Predators will trade up. I will put my money on it now. We're going to do a lot of episodes in the coming weeks after the season, really gearing you up for the 2023 NHL entry draft. It's going to be in Nashville.
Oh, that'll be exciting.
But I'm saying this right now. Here's my hot take alert. I think the Predators will trade up in the first round in some degree. I don't know if it'll be 2 picks, 3 picks. They're going to move up. There's a method to the madness when you're acquiring all these draft picks. It's not that you're going to use every single one of those draft picks.
No. Yeah. Yeah. You definitely, that's why they're stocking them up. I mean, that's what you do. That's what you do. They did it the year they drafted Zach LaRue. I mean, they used a few of them and traded up and got him. I mean, and some other guys. So yeah, that's just how it works. And they've got a lot of picks to trade. So
yep.
That'll be exciting.
So, we got it scrolling across the bottom of the screen here. What is the path to the playoffs now for the Predators? Well, I mean, it's still very possible. Mathematically, the gap is not that large. It's not like if you just looked at the standings in a vacuum right now, and you didn't look at the rosters, you just looked at okay, the Predators are here, the Winnipeg Jets are there. And you're looking at the games in hand and all that, you would think, oh, yeah, why would you count out the Predators? They can totally make that up, right? 5 points out, 3 games in hand. They got 2 games in hand on Calgary, which they're 1 point behind. So we got to keep them in mind. You've even got Seattle, who they would have to really fall apart. So it really comes down to 3 teams for that final spot. Yeah. Winnipeg, Calgary, and Nashville. Which one of those 3 teams is going to take that final spot? So, Rich, I ask you that question, and then I'll answer it. Out of those 3 teams, give me your prediction right now. Who is going to take that final wild card spot?
I think it's going to be Winnipeg. I don't follow the Calgary very close, but I do see some stuff here and there from our friends who do follow Calgary, and apparently, they're struggling as well. So, I think it'll probably wind up being Winnipeg for sure.
Calgary does not have the same excuses that Nashville does to be where they're at in the standings.
They do not.
So if you're a Calgary fan right now, you're way, way more angry. If Lindsay's on here right now, she can chime in. I would love to hear her thoughts on this. If you're a Calgary fan right now, you have way more reason to be upset at where your team's at in the standings as opposed to if you're a Nashville fan right now and seeing, okay, we are where we are. We did what we did at the deadline. We kind of made our bed and we're willing to lay in it, and we're going to see where it falls. Calgary, they went all in last offseason.
They did
to really build up, and
yeah.
They're kind of that team that has that window that's open.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
they tried
to plug the hole, and Johnny Gaudreau left and got a few guys. I know Nazem Kadri,
and Chuck, and Matthew Tkachuk. They lost him too. Yeah,
lost him. Yeah, and they got the guy from Florida in the trade. Yeah, they looked good. I mean,
Jonathan Huberdeau.
Yeah, gosh, couldn't remember his name. Yeah, I mean, they kind of went all in, with those trades and stuff, and signing Kadri. And
so I'm just for the sake of argument, but I do have conviction in this. I'm actually going to go with Calgary here.
Oh, cool.
I don't like what I saw from Winnipeg against Nashville on Saturday. I know they won, but they remind me a lot of a team that, and you can say the same about Calgary, but I don't trust Winnipeg as a playoff team, as a viable playoff team. I didn't even think they'd be this high up in the standings, so they've already kind of outperformed my preseason expectations. So I'll give them that. They've got some star-studded talent. They've got some scores. They look like a one-dimensional team to me, and Hellebuck has to bail them out a lot.
And that's
kind of how I feel about. It's kind of how I feel about Winnipeg. So maybe he'll bail them out just enough, but Winnipeg's going the opposite direction right now.
Yeah,
for a while. We're talking about a Winnipeg Jets team that was pushing Dallas for first place there for a while.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, you mentioned him being one-dimensional, and that one dimension is Connor Hellebuck. I mean,
they got some scores. They got some weapons.
They do. But I think, like you said, they do rely on him to bail them out quite a bit.
For all of their deficiencies, and for all of their disappointments, I think Calgary is actually the more balanced and top to bottom, better quality team.
Yep.
And we're looking at the standings right now. And if you're making me pick Nashville, Winnipeg, Calgary, who gets that final wild card spot, I'm going Calgary.
I mean, yeah, that's a good.
They've got one game. They've only got one game in hand on Winnipeg, so you got that going for you. I think Calgary has been trending a little bit better as of late, but they're still kind of teetering around. They beat Vegas 7-2 recently. That was a nice win. They beat Dallas this month. But they've taken some L's, but so has Winnipeg. I mean, no one seems to want this final wild card spot. It's kind of a miracle that the Preds even have a chance. They've been getting a lot of help from Winnipeg and Calgary, who keep losing.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, it's back and forth. Nashville was up one day, and then Winnipeg and Calgary, and they keep flip flopping. So it's like,
did you see?
Figure it out, boys.
Did you see where Markstrom broke his stick in that overtime loss to Dallas on Saturday?
He was not happy. He was very unhappy. It almost hit a player. He almost hit one of his own players with it. So
that was a crazy game. And that's a crazy rivalry that's kind of being built between Calgary and Dallas. Right, but I would love to see a 7-game series between those two teams. But you're looking back at that game. The Stars jumped up 2-0 in the first 2 minutes of the game. The Stars were up 2-0 in that game.
Yep.
And Calgary chipped away. They tied it at 3. They went ahead 4-3. Was a great game. They went toe-to-toe with Dallas. That told, even though they lost that game in overtime, that told me something because I have a lot of respect for Dallas. So, I don't know. I think Calgary is going to take that final playoff spot. But one thing is for certain, me and Rich are both saying that the Preds will not take that final wild card spot.
I don't see how there's a path to get there. I was getting ready to put that up. Could you imagine Nashville getting into the playoffs like this, all the veterans injured, mostly an ads roster? It would be an awesome story.
It would be a great story.
and
And
anything's possible, and I would love it more than anything. But
I think it's a story that the NHL should hope happens.
Oh yeah, for sure. Yeah, it would be
because you can market the hell out of that if that happens.
Absolutely.
If you could market a team like the Predators with all of these young players, a lot of players that people have never heard of outside of the Nashville market, unless you just really follow prospects. That would be great. That'd be such a great story. It's already a great story. Even if they don't make the playoffs, I think it's a great story.
Yeah, for sure.
It's a season that I'm going to remember for a long time, regardless if the team makes the playoffs or not.
Yeah, there's been a lot of cool things happen that we've been wanting to happen for a little bit, and it's finally taken shape. So I think this year, though, it's going to be a moot point because the Stanley Cup champion is going to come out of the East, obviously. So,
okay, we'll get back to that. Well, we're going to look around the NHL a little bit here. Let's give some love to DraftKings first. The biggest tournament in college basketball is underway, and the action is just getting started on DraftKings Sportsbook, one of America's top-rated sportsbook apps. Right now, new customers can bet just $5 on any pregame moneyline bet and score $150 in bonus bets if your team wins. We're talking about the NCAA March Madness tournament that's going on right now. I filled out 2 brackets, Rich, and so every year, I'm not a college basketball guru at all. Trust me, I'm not.
I don't even watch it.
But it's still so fun to do a bracket. I don't know why, but it's so fun. We all pretend like we're experts for like 2 weeks out of March every year. Yeah. But anyway, so every year I do 2 brackets. I do one where I take a lot of chances. I take a lot of risks.
Oh, that makes sense.
And then I do another really conservative bracket where I try to like do a lot of research and I try to look at the teams. I try to look at trends. I take a lot more thought into each pick I make. And I've been doing this for like 4 years now. And every year, the bracket where I just roll the dice and take the chances is the bracket that does better.
That one's probably doing good if you took chances. Because there's been a lot of upset.
I was doing really well there for a while. I took the Tennessee Vols to beat Duke, so I'm gonna toot my horn on that one.
That's a good one.
My one first round upset that I was really, really happy and proud about was I took Furman to beat Virginia.
Oh wow!
Don't ask me why. I just did it.
Hey,
but yeah. So that's what we're trying to tell you.
Awesome.
Rich, you're in the great basketball state of Kentucky. How are Wildcats fans taking their loss?
I haven't talked to any, but I can guarantee
they're in hiding. Are they in hiding?
They're mad and probably want to fire Calipari. That's what happens.
Man, it's just the level of expectations for Kentucky basketball is so high.
It's absolutely
that when you lose in the second round of the NCAA tournament, and how many years have they fallen short now and not even made it to the Final Four?
That's some of the ammunition that the people have for wanting him fired. So
it's championship or bust, or it's Final Four. It's Final Four or bust for Kentucky basketball. I think that's fair to say.
Yeah.
So
for sure. Yeah.
I lost on Kentucky. I thought Kentucky would make it to the Sweet 16. So they kind of messed up my bracket a little bit. So, yeah. Thanks, Wildcats. But either way, a lot of fun to still be had with DraftKings and our promo code THPN. Plus, combine multiple bets for a shot at an even bigger payout. DraftKings will be featuring parlays and odds boost all tournament long. So be sure to check the DraftKings Sportsbook app every day to see what they have in store. Download the DraftKings Sportsbook app now and sign up with code THPN. Right now, new customers can bet $5 on any pregame money line bet and get $150 in bonus bets if your team wins. Only at DraftKings Sportsbook with code THPN. Minimum age and eligibility restrictions apply. See our show notes below for details on responsible gambling practices and if you need gambling help. All right, so a lot of fun there with the NCAA tournament. Rich, before we went to that promo with DraftKings, you said that you think the Stanley Cup winner is coming out of the East. We're already on record of picking our Stanley Cup teams. I think we even revised or got the chance to revise. We got the chance to revise our Stanley Cup picks a few episodes ago. My original pick was Hurricanes over the Avalanche, which could still happen.
Mm-hmm.
I'm really liking that Hurricanes pick. The Hurricanes are cooking right now. Your problem with if you pick any team out of the East, the problem you're facing is it's going to be a gauntlet for anyone who has to come out of the East. There's going to be a lot of good teams who lose in the first round in the East.
Oh yeah, for sure. I think my original one was Toronto and maybe Colorado.
You did. We all took Colorado. In the West. We all did preseason.
I amended mine and said Boston, and then who did I say out of the other one?
Did you take Colorado out?
Dallas. When I changed it, I think I said Boston and Dallas, but I don't remember.
But if Boston Dallas would be a really fun Stanley Cup final.
I don't know. But Carolina could legitimately win as well. I mean, they are cooking like a kid.
I'm just gonna stick with my original preseason prediction. Why abandon it now? I mean, Colorado's playing really good. They're finally starting to they've weathered all of the injuries that they went through, and they had the talent to overcome that and tread water. And they were hanging around the wild card for midseason, and now they're finally have gotten above the fray and they're playing up to their full potential.
They are on a 5-game win streak right now.
Yeah. So you're looking at the West. Let's look at the Western Conference. I mean, I know how good Dallas is, but I just have a hard time trusting them in the playoffs. And I think a lot of Preds fans or a lot of Dallas Stars fans would say the same thing. Can we trust them in the playoffs?
You're right. That is a legitimate concern. Jason Robertson has been playing amazing lately. So I think he'll have something to say about that. But yeah, I don't know if old Jamie Benn could handle losing another Stanley Cup final like he did when they were in the bubble. I still remember that picture of him sitting in the locker room by himself. I was like, ooh, poor guy.
So what team are we giving the best chance out of the West to beat a team out of the East? Because I think the East is by far the better conference, top to bottom.
Yeah. Like you said, though, it'll be tough to get out of the East. So it'll be a fight to get out. So that might wear them down. Who knows? I don't even know. Maybe
the
Colorado.
West is,
I don't know.
I feel like the West is both conferences are up for grabs. I mean, that's what makes the playoffs, the Stanley Cup playoffs so fun is, I mean, everyone wants to take Boston right now because they're so dominant in the regular season, but the Stanley Cup's not a regular season award, Rich. And I know you're smiling over there ear to ear because you love you some Boston Bruins, but it's not that simple. You know that.
It's not. No, I mean, there's definitely
it's really hard to win 4 7-game series in the Stanley Cup playoffs. It is the hardest trophy to win. You have always said that. I have always agreed with you. Hardest trophy to win in sports. So, I mean,
if it came down to Boston and Carolina in the East, that's a coin toss. Either one of those teams could win for sure. Yeah, I don't know, man. It's tough. It's a very tough.
Okay, I'm going to throw another. We're going to round out episode 177 with this final topic here. All right, Rich. All right. I'll answer as well. I'll actually answer this question first, and then I'll give you. And then I always make you answer first. I'll answer first here on this one. Right. Which team, hypothetically speaking, it doesn't matter what the standings look like. We're just going to be hypothetical here. Which team in the current playoff field would you give the Predators the best chance to win a 7-game series against?
Oh wow!
I knew I'd get a laugh out of that. So we got to get. Here's the teams we got to pick from: Dallas, Minnesota, Colorado, Vegas, LA, Edmonton, and your 2 wildcard teams: Seattle, Winnipeg. You can't pick Calgary. You're gonna say Winnipeg?
I don't think so. Out of all those.
Are you going off recency bias because they played so well against them on Saturday?
Probably a little bit. I mean, maybe Minnesota. I mean, they play well against Minnesota.
All right.
From time to time. That's
I mean,
tough.
it's not going to happen. It's definitely not going to happen mathematically. Like, it's not possible, but this is a hypothetical question here. This isn't
Yep.
realistically what's going to happen. Well, actually, it could happen. This actually could happen. I recant my statement. It
All
could
right.
happen. If LA were to pass Vegas,
Okay.
they could actually have the highest point total in the Western Conference when it's all said and done. And if the Preds get the final wild card spot, they could draw LA in the first round. And I'm taking it right now. The best chance that the Preds have to win a first round series, and it's still so minute. I'm not predicting that this will happen. I'm saying the best chance, everybody. So don't quote me.
Yep.
I'm taking the Kings, and it could happen.
It could. Yeah, I mean, yeah, if you look at the numbers, it could. That's for sure.
If I remember correctly, the Preds, let's pull it up right now. The Preds swept. They didn't sweep it. No, the Preds got points in all three matchups against the Kings this year.
Oh, there you go.
Won the series 2-1. The one game they lost, they took it to a shootout to open the season or early in the season.
Yep. AJ Evans.
I'm taking the Kings.
I mean, long live the streak, but lottery luck versus plowed in the first round. Yeah, it's true. Yeah,
I get
no matter what.
I get what you're saying, AJ. I respect that, but the whole lottery argument is long gone, man.
Yeah, I don't think it's...
we could have made the whole argument for the lottery like a month ago, but this team is well past that. They're in that gray area.
They are.
So right now, you might as well just hope they win because, I mean, what are you hoping for? They lose a little bit so they can move up one draft spot. They're not going. The odds of them landing Connor Bedard, the number one pick, is basically zero at this point. And even, maybe you want them to pick in the top 5. I get that too. But
that's true.
This draft class, like I said, we mentioned this a little bit earlier. This draft class is already extremely stacked with offensive forwards, playmakers.
Yep.
And also with your draft capital that you possess right now, you have all the power to move up, which is what I think the strategy was from the beginning. I think that's why the Preds reluctantly traded away Tanner Jeannot.
Yep. Yeah, because they got a haul for him.
Yeah. So that's what you're thinking right now. Yep. You can trade it. You've got all these draft picks you can move around. You've got some players you can think about even trading at that point. Like you've got some options here. So they're probably going to move up in the first round. No matter where they finish, they're probably going to try to move up. And there's going to be a really highly skilled offensive player that they can draft to add to that prospect pool that already looks extremely good. I would call the Preds prospect pool definitely top 10 in the NHL right now. Maybe even top 5, top 8, somewhere around there. They're definitely top 10 in my opinion. So we shouldn't really focus on not making the playoffs for the sake of our lottery odds. That ship is sailed. That ship is sailed.
Yeah, we'll see what happens. If they get a few guys back, there's a chance. But if you look at the schedule, just don't see it happening.
If they somehow were to sneak in the playoffs, it seems very likely there's really 4 teams. There's even really 5 teams they could play realistically in the first round.
Yeah.
You've got LA. I mean, you've got the race to have the most points in the Western Conference is really between 5 teams. LA, Vegas, Colorado, Minnesota, Dallas. You've even got Edmonton. I'll throw a 6 team. Edmonton's. So you've got 6 teams within 6 points of each other.
Yeah, 6 points. Yeah, for sure.
Your top 3 division leaders in both the Central and the Pacific Division right now are all within 6 points of each other.
Yep. And your top Eastern Conference team doesn't even have as many points as they have the same amount of points as your number 3 team in the Metropolitan. So yeah,
I mean,
it's crazy.
I mean, look,
so
You've got Minnesota, who could definitely pass Dallas and end up winning the division. Colorado could still catch fire and win the division, like we all expected from the beginning. LA could end up passing Vegas. Edmonton is lurking around there at number 3. They're only 6 points back. I mean, anything could happen. So who knows? If the Preds somehow pull a rabbit out of their hat and they make it in, they could play either one of those 6 teams, which is kind of why I've asked that question to begin with. And out of those 6 teams, I'll take LA or Minnesota, but I'll take LA first.
Yeah.
I'm not picking the Preds to win a 7-game series against either 6 of those teams.
No.
But there's a couple teams in that group that I think could sweep the Preds.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
I could see Dallas would most likely sweep the Preds. Colorado would probably sweep the Preds, maybe in 5. Vegas would have a really good chance to sweep the Preds or at least win in 5. Edmonton would, at the very worst, win in 5.
Yeah.
Maybe LA, you could pull 6 or 7 out of it. I'm just going to call it just based on the season series, based on matchups. Maybe, just maybe, you could make it interesting in a first-round series against LA. That's what I'm going to take to the bank right now. We'll
Colorado actually could move up because they've got 2 games in hand on all the teams, which that's crazy. All the other teams of the 6, they've all played 70 games, but Colorado's only played 68. So
we got AJ chiming in here. He says, knowing logic, Cody Glass is going to have a monster playoff and be our franchise center.
That'd be good.
He puts that in quote. No, I mean, I would like that. Cody Glass has been playing some great hockey, man.
Yeah, for sure.
He's been looking really good. Again, we have a lot to be happy and proud about, despite I know it's a 7-0 loss. It stings. It's always going to sting no matter the but we'll have to wait and see. I think we're going to get more news on Tuesday regarding Roman Yossi's mysterious upper body injury, which he left in the Winnipeg game. You know, we'll never know. We'll never know if the Preds could have pulled out that win against that regulation win against Winnipeg if they're not skating with 5 defensemen for that entire game.
Oh yeah,
for sure. 2 of the 3 periods without their captain.
And then they said in the overtime, most of the guys playing in overtime had never been in a overtime situation like LeBron.
I mean, I got it. Yeah, I mean, I got it right here. Actually, I actually put it down just to remember it. But let's look at this overtime. Let's look at this overtime unit here with no Yossi in that overtime period against Winnipeg on Saturday. Your first unit was Glass, Tyson Barrie, and Matt Duchene.
Yeah.
Jeremy Lazan, as you mentioned, was on the second unit. I mean, yeah, like you said, these guys had never played together in this type of format. Yeah, you're just really rolling the dice and trying to get something to stick here. So you can't hold anything against John Hines here. I know everyone likes to blame John Hines. Yeah. You cannot.
No. He's playing with an AHL team.
We haven't even brought up John Hines this entire episode, but I'm going to bring it up now just because I think it's ridiculous, because I actually have seen a few people say, this is all John Hines' fault, blah, blah, blah. I'm like, no, it's not.
No,
he has
not anywhere near his fault.
But
no, it's absolutely not his fault.
I mean, look at the minutes you're having to get from some of these guys. And
yeah, I mean, it's not his fault.
You're doing
his job, maybe.
You're doing what you can. You're doing what you can.
Yeah.
Cal Foote has been a little bit underwhelming, I will say. I did like that fight he had to stick up for who did he stick up for? Evangelista? Was that in the game against Winnipeg?
Yep, he did.
I mean, he laid some good uppercuts there. I like that, but we're not.
I don't think he got to play much in Tampa though. It seems like he didn't play much this year for them at all before he got traded.
I haven't been very impressed though. I'll be honest. Like he's had a lot of turnovers in the offensive zone.
He's still trying to find his way too.
He's had some really, really big gaffes in the zone. One being the New York when the Rangers scored their second goal in that game, it was the direct product of Cal Foote making a horrible. I don't know what he was trying to do. Like I don't know what he was looking at, but he just he had a great primary assist to the Rangers score. Let's put it that way. But
he's probably all struggling. They're all struggling to deal with losing so many players. So it's probably just deer in the headlights type of situation for him. For all of them, really.
Yeah. For all of them, yeah, and they're getting great experience. We'll see how many of these players stick around, who comes back next year, all that good stuff. I like that you brought up Kiefer Sherwood because he is a guy that I've really enjoyed watching play. Yeah. We kind of like laughed about it there for a little bit because he scored the first goal of the season and then he just disappeared forever. We were like, oh, like Kiefer Sherwood scores the first goal, then he's gone forever. And now he's back and he's playing valuable minutes. Yeah. He's kind of a better version of Cole Smith. That's kind of what he gives me. Kiefer Sherwood plays just like Cole Smith. Like he plays just with that same rugged style, but he has an offensive skill set to his game.
Yeah, he does. And he is very energetic, which is good as well. He always gets after the puck, which you always got to appreciate that. So I like him.
For sure. All right, we'll see if we can get some guys healthy. We'll find out more about Roman Josi on Tuesday. We'll see what's going on with Juuso Parssinen. We'll see what's going on with Alex Carrier. I mean, we got so many guys. Ryan McDonough's been out. I mean, that poor guy, Ryan McDonough, he takes a puck to the face like every freaking game he plays.
Like a magnet.
Poor guy. Yeah. I mean, at this point, you really have to have a list in front of you to remember all the players that the Preds are missing right now. I mean, Juuso Parssinen, that's been another really mysterious injury. All these injuries are kind of mysterious. Like, you don't get a lot of information. You don't really know. So, I mean, if you can just get like two of these guys back, then maybe
give you a little bit of a shot, but
out of all the guys that are injured, they got to get Ryan McDonough back quick, and they got to get Roman Josi back quick.
Oh yeah,
those are my top two. I want them all back. I miss Juuso Parssinen, I miss Philip Forsberg, but if you're talking about two players they have to have back quickly to give them even a chance, they need Ryan McDonough and Roman Josi back. And 100%. I think out of all of them, I would think that Ryan McDonough will probably come back first. But again, we don't really know what's going on with Roman Josi.
Nobody knows. Who knows?
We will find out. It's been a fun episode. We just passed the hour mark. This has been Catfish on Ice, episode 177, presented by DraftKings, promo code THPN, to have a great time on March Madness. Throw down some money on a money line with our promo code THPN for new users. Go have fun with that, as it's the Sweet 16 for March Madness. Go have fun with that. We're a part of the Hockey Podcast Network. We appreciate all of you watching along on our YouTube channel. Please hit subscribe down below. It helps us a ton. And also, go Preds. We're going to stick with this team. Let's see if they got one more fight left in them to make it 9 straight playoff appearances. We'll see. We don't want the streak to die.
Just keep going.
We don't want the streak to die, everybody. All right?
Yeah. Hopefully
With that said, everyone have a great night. We'll see you for the next episode. Take care, everybody.
Yep. Have a good one.